Rod Serling with the debacle of Night Gallery, where Jack Lear pretty well cut him out of the series, only allowed him to write scripts and not contribute any other way. He decided to go on some different projects, and this one of them was one of the most underrated radio series in the 1970s, called The 0 Hour. Now, this was called also Hollywood Radio Theater. Came out in the 73-74 campaign, and it was a radio drama anthology series, again hosted by Serling. With tales of mystery, adventure, and suspense, the program was broadcast for 2 years. Some of the scripts were written by Serling. It debuted on September 3rd, 73 in syndication, and was picked up on a mutual broadcasting system in December. The original format features 5-part dramas broadcast Monday through Friday, with a story coming to conclusion on Friday, including commercials. Each part was approximately 30 minutes long. Mutual affiliates were free to broadcast the series in any available time slot that they wish. In 74, still airing 5 days a week, the program changed to a full story in a single 30-minute installment, with the same actors starring throughout the week in all 5 of the programs. That format was employed from late April 74 to the end of the series in July of that year. Now, producer J.M. Colas was a L.A. advertising man who acquired the rights to suspense novels, including Tony Hillerman's The Blessing Way, for radio adaptations. In some cases, the titles were changed. For example, the 5-part Desperate Witness was an adaptation of The Big Clock by Kenneth Fearing. To create a strong package, Colas followed through by lining up top actors, including John Astin, Edgar Bergen, Joseph Campanella, Richard Crenna, John Diener, Howard Duff, Keenan Wynn, Richard Deacon, Patty Duke, Nina Folk, George Maharis, Susan Oliver, Brock Peters, and Lorraine Tuttle. Ironically, a lot of the actors on the show were also on Twilight Zone and Night Gallery. Now, the opening theme was by Ferrante and Teicher. Don Hills produced a series for Studio House, which also produced the Salvation Army's Heartbeat Theater. Counting each 5-part show as 5 episodes, there were a total of 130. Failing to find a large audience due to the initial weekly serial format and lack of promotion and lack of international syndication, Mutuals canceled the program, and the final episode was broadcast on July 26, 74, though many Mutual affiliates continued broadcasting repeats for several months afterwards. According to director Elliot Lewis, they wanted as much more value as possible to help with sales. They forgot they had to sell it. Everybody sat in the office and waited for someone to call them up and buy the show. Now, Highbridge Audio has released some of the 5-part stories on audio cassette. Now, first season, some of the key actors included Patty Duke, John Astin, George Kennedy, Susan Oliver, Jessica Walters, Joe Campanella, Ed Nelson, Howard Duff, Juliet Mills, Murray Matheson, Richard Crenna, again Keenan Wynn, Earl Holliman, Nehemiah Persoff, Brock Peters, Ken Berry, Joanne Worley, Peter Marshall, Susan Strasberg, George Maharis, and Craig Stevens, and Charles McGraw. Second season, the big ones were Mel Torme, Jackie Cooper, Dick Sargent, Lyle Wagner, William Shatner, in a great 5-part series called Dr. Rivington, presumably, Greg Morris, Lee Merriweather, Peter Lupus, Shelley Berman, Bob Crane, Monty Markham, and Joe Campanella, and, of course, my personal favorite, Roz Martin, under the corpse, takes a stand as a lead-in. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rod Serling, for much of the 60s, was working on spec, either, promoting his own stuff or rewrite other scripts, 7 Days in May and The Loner and The Man. But Night Gallery proved that if you had the wrong showrunner or producer ahead of him, you couldn't go anyplace. I think the big problem with Rod Serling, he just burned himself out because, his health was starting to fail. He was doing a lot of commercials, being chastised in the press, both personally and critically for jobs he was taking on. But he said, like anything else, he used to do print and TV ads at the Liars Club. A person's got to live. And back then, writers' rights weren't as strong as the existing writer strike in the States, as is going on in the actor strike as well. So if you can find these on YouTube or podcasts, I would really check it out, not only because of the actors that appeared, because of the quality of the shows. I heard 0 Hour as a child for some of the New York channels. Used to come in overnight. Spooky as heck, ladies and gentlemen. But it's, like I said, for all ages. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of Rod Serling's 0 Hour. If you like what we're doing here or a Rod Serling podcast, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.